Welcome back to Rational Discourse Weekly. This is episode 10, filmed on Monday, January 7th, 2013. I'm William Garrison.
I'm Michael Aune.
And this week we talk a little bit about what purpose means to an atheist.
We also touch on sort of where we get our moral compass, or at least why we don't act like homicidal maniacs.
In Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto style, yes. And let's see.
Michael also has an article on the site talking about
the problem of evil. So some good stuff this week, so stay tuned.
So, with the new year kind of being here, we wanted to talk a little bit about purpose and what drives us as atheists to move on at each passing day, and why we can wake up in the morning and live with ourselves.
Don't just end it over morning coffee.
Yeah.
What's the point?
We sort of at least started thinking about this topic. I've had some recent conversations with people on Twitter who were just... this one kid, I think he started it, he's like, I don't understand how atheists live with themselves. What is the purpose of them living at all? And then #idiots.
Very nice finish.
I only engaged in that conversation to try to inform him. Unfortunately, he didn't want to talk about what atheists, really believed in, or how we really felt about life. He decided to call me just a long string of names. So I cut off that conversation pretty quickly and blocked him. But it's something I think we should talk about.
Yeah. Well, I think it is something that people who have not given up the sort of God-given purpose. What do you do with yourself? Why are you here? And I think for us, the short answer is there is no why are you here? You are here. And for me, it's simply a matter of I might as well make the most of it while I'm here. I have, I believe, natural inclinations to do certain things. I want to make friends. I want to be a productive member of society. I want to live a comfortable life. And these right there are things that sort of push me towards long-term goal fulfillment and give me meaning in my life by having something to live for and work for. I don't know if I need more.
Well, and I like how it's open-ended like that. I wasn't born being forced into a life that I don't want. I don't have to be a blacksmith manufacturing axes all day if that's what I don't want to do. If I want to quit my job and, travel with the circus, that's an option.
It's true. You're not angering the deity by not becoming a celibate priest or something. So that's cool.
Yeah.
You don't have that burden on your back. If you want to be a carny with your little carny hands stealing things from people, now that's a valid life choice, and you can make that for yourself.
Sounds amazing. The smell of popcorn. I don't know if this is something we've touched on before, but I know it's an argument that gets brought up quite frequently, used against atheists. It's like what prevents us from just going out and killing people or living evil lives? Because I think the discussion of evil is kind of interesting, but that just goes into how compassion, love, these are all feelings that most of humanity shares as a whole, and it's not that kind of morality isn't, at least I feel, doesn't come from religion. It's just how we're wired.
We're basically you're saying you think that we're naturally morally inclined, at least to a basic degree.
Yeah, and I think and you know a little bit more about this than I do, just because your formal schooling and stuff. But I think that's why there's most moral acts can be agreed upon by almost all of humanity, regardless of race, religion, location in the world, and that's despite religious divides, and that's just because almost everyone can agree that rape is bad, that killing innocent people is bad, that most animals are innocent, like they don't
unnecessary cruelty should not be perpetrated and all that.
And helping out fellow man is a good thing to do, and there's a long list of what most of humanity would be considered, what they would consider good and bad. And
Kind of like the whole proposition, don't be a dick.
yeah,
Just
by Will
seems-
Wheaton.
Is that copyrighted?
Trademark. It's a hashtag, but that's in the Twitter universe. That's not the same as being copyrighted. So
What's the idea that the golden rule is pervasive?
yeah,
If you boil down Jesus's teachings, you can pretty much sum it up as do unto others, and that's a common trend in most religions, as far as ignoring the theological concerns about how to get to heaven and things like that. How you should interact with other people is generally said as just treat others as you want to be treated. So I think that gives. I think it should be. It can go two ways. You have to acknowledge it could be because religions maybe have it wrong, but that is a God-given truth. Can't say that it isn't. Or at the same time, it's, I think, reasonable to say that, based on the evolutionary trajectory of our species, that rule, when applied, gave us a evolutionary advantage that allowed us to get to where we are today. And so it is literally ingrained in us, basically at the genetic level, because it's a useful survival tool. If we were constantly going around murdering each other, or raping and pillaging and just doing whatever we want without any sort of moral constraints, it'd be hard to see how we could ever work together. And individually, we're not particularly threatening. Me versus a bear's probably going to win. But if it's me and five of my friends versus a bear, well, I think maybe now we at least have a shot. So I think that is something that, it can be explained either way. I can't say that it isn't.
Well, and the reason why I brought up that particular argument is like, if the only thing preventing you from punching an old lady in the face is your belief in Jesus, then you scare me.
Stephen just
that's basically a quote from Stephen.
Yeah, if the only reason you don't punch old ladies on the street is Jesus, you scare the living shit out of me. And I think that's fair. I think the idea that the only reason you don't do something is because you're afraid of getting caught or punished, well, I think that shows a serious moral deficiency. You're not actually acting morally. You're just acting pragmatically.
I don't know about you, but the reason I don't do those things is because I have no desire to.
Well, beyond that, I would feel guilty. I feel that it is wrong to do so.
Yeah,
and I think
so that's a double-edged coin. I have no desire to, and I know the personal consequences. I know I would be arrested. There are many things to be lost from that when we talk about morality. But
that's such a fun and rich topic. I'm sure we'll be
going back to the topic of purpose. I know. Having been a Christian most of my life.
And you were an active Christian for a while.
I mean, church every weekend.
At least.
I was even forced to go to Catholic church a few times because my mom's, my mom's dad was Catholic. I say was because he passed recently. Where was I? Talking about even when I was a Christian, I never used it to define my purpose necessarily, because I told myself, like, unless God made my purpose obvious, like unless he came to me in a dream and like, you're going to be a Sunday school preacher or something.
It's disconcerting to me a little bit that would be considered obvious, and yet I know that that's about as good as you'd ever get.
Yeah,
you're not going to get like a letter signed in heavenly ink. By the way, you should become a lawyer and defend the homeless,
which wouldn't be as cool as a letter from Hogwarts, but that's another subject.
That is absolutely true. But I think we've already touched on the fact that we wish that Hogwarts was
because there's no prayer in Hogwarts. That was our original conversation. And I don't feel that changed when I became an atheist and, am a pretty outgoing atheist. I don't know what the term I'm looking for. I never felt like religion defined my purpose.
So it was a feature, but it didn't define you in a sense.
Yeah, it was more or less, it was a set of rules that I tried to, or at least I was told to follow. But it had nothing to do with what I wanted to do or who I was.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with atheism. It's even though we believe that this universe and our lives technically have no purpose.
They have no, call it, objective meaning.
Yeah.
They don't have it's not written, in stone in heaven that like these are the deeds that will be done, or these are the way that you should live, or any of those things. It's the idea that you're here, you're mucking around, trying to figure out what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're getting all sorts of input from the world you live in, society, your parents, and all that. So, I mean, you're given some direction. I mean, like, obviously, as a kid up through 18, like, what's your short-term goal? Well, I'm going to go to school and try and pass 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, or then I'm going to go to college.
I'm going to save up my allowance and buy the Ninja Turtles van.
I had
it has a kick-out door and
with the pizza shooter.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I had every one of the originals except for April.
I don't. No, I had April.
You know what? I hate you. You were the guy who stole.
I don't think I played with her. I think she was always just like in the sidelines watching the Ninja Turtles.
To be fair, who wants to play with the reporter when you have Ninja Turtles to play with?
Yeah, she wasn't battling Splinter. And...
What's she gonna do? Throw her mic at someone? I'm gonna write a vicious expose.
That's the first time I've heard expose used in a sentence in many moons.
It's a good word. 5 points for good word usage to me. Hooray! I win grammar.
But yeah, that topic of purpose, like some theists seem to have a problem with that, in that they don't understand how we as atheists deal with that, how we deal with life and purpose. And to be completely honest, the reason why I brought up the story of what I was thinking as a Christian is, I think we're in this just like the Christians are. It's not. We're not thinking any differently than they are. They just have, I'm going to say they have added baggage in that they have to worry about religious dogma, or they're trying to model their lives after Jesus, as some of them would say. Whereas,
I mean, to be fair, they're given guidelines. They're given the end point, I would say, if you're really trying to practice, is to live a Christ-like life and to obtain heaven through your efforts to attain communion with God. And I don't mean to say that disparagingly, as if it's just, I'm going to be good so I can get mine in the afterlife. I think many people do genuinely believe that this is the proper way to live, and that it's simply...
Well, it makes you feel good. It's the same reason why, if I help out someone in need, or if I donate, or those things just feel good.
Yeah.
It's just, they happen to be able to say, not only does it feel good, but I'm doing it because... Yeah. My holy book tells me it's good.
Yeah, and I would assume that people who are only following, the tenets of a religious tradition for the idea of like the benefit they'll receive in the end, are probably going to be considered by most people in those traditions to be disingenuous in their belief.
Yeah.
That you're not doing it for the right reasons, and the reasons matter. But I mean, there's a lot at stake, in theory. I mean, an eternity of bliss or eternity of hellfire is, that'll make you think. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of that bargain, to be sure. And so I understand why that can be such a strong motivating factor to live a certain way, and why it might be confusing for people who don't understand. Given that you don't have that potential bliss waiting for you, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Why aren't you out in the streets killing? And, doing whatever you want, because this is all you got, and then after this, no matter what happens, you're done. And I feel that the answer is ultimately, I have my own built-in reasons that I've developed over years. I've got things I want to obtain in my life, things I want to do. I want to be remembered in a certain way. And at the end, when I die, I don't want people to be like, "Yay, finally, that guy's gone."
Yeah.
So
if we played life like Grand Theft Auto and
basically, why aren't we Grand Theft Autoing right now? Yeah. Why aren't we just punching prostitutes, running over cops, and shooting up everyone in the streets?
Yeah, ramping off of stairs with motorcycles and trying to do backflips, but your character always falls off.
Always. And you couldn't swim at all.
Yeah.
Don't fall in water. You're dead in a minute.
But we choose to have our own reasons. We make up our own purpose, I guess, is what.
But I don't think we choose either. I mean, genuinely, like, I don't think I ever chose to be a good person, in the sense that I don't think I like made a personal commitment to myself to be like, I'm going to be good. I just feel like I sort of naturally have this inclination. I want to be good.
What I meant by that is sometimes you'll have personal reflection. Like if you have one of those days, you're like, I was really an asshole to everyone I talked to that day. Like,
so like every other day for me.
You reflect and you're like, you know what, I'm going to try to, compliment people. I'm going to try to be a little bit nicer.
Try and be a better person today than you were tomorrow.
The golden rule.
Or yesterday.
Which is another concept that kind of transcends all religion. It's kind of existed since the beginning of time.
It's very human.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, to be fair, people suck. No one is more evil to people than other people. So I guess I understand why someone who feels defined and constrained by their religious tenets maybe genuinely doesn't understand, like, why wouldn't you just do whatever you want?
Yeah.
Given that you have no guidance or moral compass. But genuinely, it might just be because you've never actually tried navigating on your own and realized the compass still works, regardless of whether or not the book you based it on is true. At least roughly, I think.
Yeah, what I guess we're trying to say is that we don't believe the compass is in a book. We believe it's in our brains.
I believe, obviously, since I don't think the book was divinely inspired, but I believe that it's a reflection of human nature. Therefore, it's a reflection of the moral compass. It's going to point in roughly the right directions because that's the direction we naturally sort of point. And as the ones who wrote it, of course it's going to reflect who we are.
Yeah.
Especially as it's a collective work over time. If it was one psychopath who sat down and wrote the whole Bible, well, then yeah, obviously it might say that.
I don't think there's a holy, this is just a random aside, I don't think there's a holy book that actually claims to have been written by a god, is there? Like, all of them are...
Well, they're all divinely inspired.
But they are written by man. Like, that's a fact, like, that's not a contested fact,
I don't think
right?
anyone is... I don't know of at least a major tradition that says that, like, they found a book literally written by the hand of God. I mean, Islam was revealed, Judaism was revealed, Christianity was revealed, Buddhism are his reflections, and that's debatable about whether or not that's atheistic or not. Taoism, Confucianism, those are all...
Yeah,
none of those are...
I don't know if that's an argument for atheism, but it seems kind of interesting that an all-knowing, all-powerful God
apparently doesn't know how to write cursive or something.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to bind paper or whatever his causes were. He always has to force man to write his work, and then
it'd be more convincing if you literally just like walked into a cave and there was like this ethereal tome that was just sitting there with.
Well, and if it was grafted with an ink or a material that wasn't of this earth, and we literally, through thousands of years of scientific discovery, weren't able to find out how it was made, and it was like the constant... I think if something like that had occurred, science and religion would actually meet a little more frequently than they do now.
Well, I mean, but that would also be a religious being or a divine being actually causally interacting with the world in a way that we can actually observe and pinpoint, which is the problem. And, you can't use evidence as religion currently stands because religion basically disavows evidentiary claims. It doesn't matter that they can't prove it. That's not what they're basing it on. They're basing it on subjective claims, not objective claims. So science has no way of getting at that. Yeah. At least not directly. So
yeah, I just think it's odd.
No, I mean, I think all of this, I mean, none of it is a slam dunk, but I think it certainly bolsters our argument that, there seem to be some trends here that like humanity's at the heart of all of these traditions. So maybe it's just man who's at the heart of the tradition and not actually a divine being. And why can't it just be a book written by some guys in the desert, or who tried to put something out there to explain things they couldn't understand?
And it's, even if you're not Christian, well, even if you're not religious at all, like, all of these holy books are very interesting to read, just like older mythologies, like the Roman and Greek. And
well, what's interesting too is religion, especially with monotheism, definitely took a turn in its orientation and its purpose, because, I mean, beforehand the gods were in a sense functional beings in many ways, at least the public religions. They were not something that, you literally worshiped them for a purpose, and you had a goal, and when you worshipped,
You worshipped
the goddess
Athena
of the
before.
hearth, you were trying to bless your home. Like, there was a reason you did a specific thing. They were functional.
You worshipped Athena or praised her before and after battle. After if you were victorious.
Well, if you were Athenian, maybe. Not Spartan, though.
Yeah.
Those guys were dicks, though. I don't actually want to judge the Spartans. If there are any Spartans out there, I apologize.
If you happen to be watching.
Actually, that'd be awesome if we had, like, the last few Spartans hanging around. I'd be pretty psyched if they were trolling our website.
Yeah.
Seeing what's good. But I imagine that probably is a decent enough stopping point.
Yeah, I think we're good. So
we got some stuff in the works. Actually, I should say it's been worked. I got an article on the problem of evil that should have been posted a day or two ago. So go check that out.
And because it's related, I told Michael before the show, I watched a video today of a Yale professor talking about the topic of God and evil and how the Bible, at least how they word it, poorly deals with the topic of God created evil. So I'll link that in the comments of the video as well. But other than that, I'm heading out to CES for a week in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yep.
So
our next podcast will likely be 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll probably film it next Monday, but it might not be out until the next week. So. But until then, we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one. Oh, my ear!
Hey, Steven, can you do the box thing? The
That was gentle.
I don't know what it's
It
called.
was a looping blow.
I don't know what it's officially
That actually
called.
stung quite a bit. It got me right in the ear.
Yeah, that thing hurts.
Yeah, that's the one you were calling wimpy.
Yeah, I know. We had this discussion earlier. Do I need to get out of the
Thank you.
Eventually.
Sorry. How about I move? How about that?
How about?
How's about that?
All right.
All right, Ripley, come here.
So, Billy, I think you should lead us off. Get the ball rolling. Get our juices flowing. Oh.
With my ready whip and my scotch. Which part?
Nothing wakes you up like a kidney blow.
Stretching helps.
Toxic shock for the win. No? We're not doing that. Okay.
Michael, what's my number one rule?
Don't make me work.
Yes.
Becky, you're not employed.
However funny that may be, the point of the matter is...
I've been saving it. I didn't want to say it the first couple of times, but you brought it up a lot, and I'm like...
You know I don't care.
It's coming.
No, Ripley, come here. You know I don't care.
It's coming.